Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Justin Fontenot on our M3 podcast, where we get into cybersecurity and where we are in our nation. So I want to get into it before we try to pivot too far or continue down different roads. It's because we could talk all day on this. But
yeah, absolutely.
I really want your opinion in the position you in and what we seeing in the world with cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so apropos that we're talking to you, because my wife and I talk about this consistently. We actually looking at things before it happened, and then when they say it, we go, yep, told you.
Yep.
We knew it was that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much going on that these companies are trying to either hide it, minimize it, or waiting to say something happened to somebody else. Now I can say it happened to me too.
Yeah, because they're worse.
Yeah, they're worse. You see, it happened badly to them.
Yeah.
Mine was only 23,000. You
Yeah.
know, as opposed to that was 8 million.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, just help me out through that. I would love to get your viewpoint on that.
No, that works, and it's not too far of a deviation because the opportunity I took from that Big Four firm is the one I'm in now, and I've been in for the last 2 years. So, yeah, it's interesting because it's like one of those things where, going back to a little bit of what Chaz was talking about, where everybody, especially at the upper levels, are viewing IT and anything within that wheelhouse as a pure cost. You know, I feel that we're starting to slowly see a realization at the upper level that is leading to a culture shift very slowly towards proactively budgeting and giving IT, namely cybersecurity, the funds they need to execute. Right.
Right.
It's a challenge because I think in this space you can never be truly 100% secure. You know, you could make an argument for having a ground safe and keeping your documents in this ground safe that's under several feet of concrete, and yeah, that would be pretty secure, right? Because it's not connected to the internet, but you still have the risk of somebody coming in and blowing up your safe and taking it, right? If there's lucrative enough incentive for them. That exists in information, right? We need to be connected. The world that it is now, the information age, all the services and goods have some type of online component virtually at any company. So it's about, in my opinion, it's about positioning yourself to be less of an attractive target, as terrible as this sounds, than your competitors. If I work in the financial institution space, I need to make sure that I'm staying up to snuff with industry-leading practice is the term everybody loves to throw around, right? What does that mean? That just means I need to make sure I'm better than the average, because that way it lowers the likelihood that I get targeted and impacted.
Well, we know the banks are going to be on top of things. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But then let's bring it to the attention of now we're talking about how, for example, Apple, Microsoft, you know, with the situation where the privacy is a huge thing compared to Facebook. So, for example, we have a good friend who worked for Microsoft, and then, of course, I'm part of Apple. But with the fact that they said, I don't want to give out my privacy.
Yeah.
Apple specifically said a couple of years where they were trying to get access to a person who was a criminal or died or something like that. And they wanted to...
San Bernardino,
right.
James Comey. Dun, dun, dun.
Always circling it back.
So, you know, with that, Apple was like, you know, the government, you know, the federal government, FBI, I think it was saying, well, we want you to give me this information. And Apple said, hell no.
That's low key. I was like,
they tried to pull rank, and Apple said no. But the thing was that Apple was in the media with that. But it was also happening with damn Microsoft as well, because I have a good friend who works there. And he said, Alicia, it's not just them. It's us too. We have a case that's similar to that. And they trying to pull out information. Then we got Amazon doing the same thing. Recording information that even though it's off, right, it records what happened because they had a case where somebody killed somebody. They wanted them to get that information.
Yeah.
So it's now coming to, then you come to Facebook. Facebook been doing this for a very long time. I mean, to the point, iMessaging. So if you got iMessaging, you're fucked. Because they taking everything from you. They're recording every text, everything you do. And people ask, why you don't have Facebook iMessaging? I said, because they're recording every goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And so now we're talking about our personal privacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so are the banks more secure than our tech companies?
Yeah, so I think,
Well, I'll take that question a step further. First, two-part question: are financial companies? What comes first? Financials or tech? Which ones are they? Financial or tech companies? And which ones are more secure? Financial versus tech?
so they're financial companies first. They try to brand themselves, and many banks try to brand themselves as a tech company that does banking. That's like the fad thing in the banking space, to be a bank that's a tech company that banks.
You can see the arm gestures.
Tech as
Yeah,
well.
arm
I do
gestures.
tech.
But that's like the cool thing if you're a bank apparently lately, to start to brand yourself that way. Totally farce. It's the traditional. They're a bank that has a huge reliance on technology.
Gotcha.
That being said, I think that banks are absolutely more secure on average than your tech companies. Now, this is a really dangerous rabbit hole for me because it's something that I'm super passionate about. I could talk about for hours, but that's like, when you think about banking is one of the critical infrastructure industries of the country, right?
The world.
Banking, power, telecommunications, transportation, and healthcare are the Power Five. That's what they call them in the United States. So the United States considers those 5 industries the most vital to continue to provide the life that the citizens are used to in this country.
Say it one more time.
The Power Five is banking, so financial institutions, healthcare, hospitals, doctor offices, anything like that.
Right.
Telecommunications, so Verizon, AT&T, your internet, and your phone providers, and then banking, hospitals, telecommunications, power, so your energy, gas,
Georgia Power.
Yep, Georgia Power, and Duke Energy,
Scania, all that.
exactly. Some of those big ones, and then
Transportation.
So usually heavily run and heavily
Transit, MARTA.
carried by governments, right? Local and municipal governments, but still considered one of the Power Five. And those industries are all very heavily regulated by the government. So it's funny, a lot of what we talked about earlier, you were interjecting with some of the prior discussion about how government is behind. Well, I can tell you the government is still, when they do release stuff, because of how much resources they can pool to an effort, it is instantly adopted as industry-leading practice because it's instantly the best resource out there.
Okay.
So a perfect example is the National Institute of National Information Security Standards. I can't remember what it stands for. NIST. Yeah. They have NIST as a government-run framework organization. They build frameworks and programs and policies around, like, hey, this is how you should do
under
things.
the Obama administration.
Yeah. Well, no, it's been around for a long time. The NIST
was it update happening?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I won't get into that, but it's been around for a while. But
save that for another podcast.
It's gotten a lot better, and what they do is, the government's not going to pour all these resources in and then immediately say, this is what we found, because they want to use it. They're going to hold it until they feel they have something better.
Right.
Because the government's not going to give us anything that they're using actively, because then the other countries have it, and other countries are total adversaries, even if we're allies with them.
Because it's commercialized.
Exactly.
Right.
And then the other countries can exploit, right? Like some of the exploits recently have been because of NSA toolkits getting out there. These are toolkits that the NSA was using in the 90s and the early 2000s. What do you think they're using now? Right.
Gotcha.
Same thing with NIST CSF. NIST CSF got released.
Right.
I can't remember exactly when. It was in the early 2000s. And it's been expanded since it got released, but it's been expanded by the industry cohort that's been using it, not by the government. The government released it and said, here, this is what we think is really good for you guys.
Right.
And a bunch of companies still use it today, and a bunch of companies have adopted it.
So Justin, I got a question for you. So we was debating this on our last podcast, Repo, that none of this stuff is going on. All of these people are stupid. These fucking senators don't know a goddamn thing. But what you're saying is They probably don't.
Okay.
But we have organizations that's actually doing it. They're just not aware of
the senators don't have the know-how, right? They don't have the knowledge.
So they don't have the knowledge unless they need to know it, and then
Exactly.
they send someone out to say, do we do that? Yeah, go find out.
When you're looking at like CIA, NSA, FBI, I mean, Secret Service, you're talking the programs they're running with, the things that they have, when they get released 15 years down the road, they'll probably be all adopted by industry as well.
Gotcha.
It's
just, so I feel a little confident with that.
Yeah, they're going to keep their hands close to the chest. And obviously this is kind of speculation, but why are so many companies in the cybersecurity space using NIST CSF if the government is so incapable, right?
Right.
Which was built on their framework.
Well, I think for our podcast, it was more so from a legislative perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't depend on
the
legislators to pass national. Our debate was there needs to be, like, if I was president, I would create a new cabinet, and I'd be like someone to be secretary of like IT, basically CIO,
like SMEs.
Yeah, well, who?
Subject matter experts.
SME.
Oh,
it's a SME.
Wow. Yeah, it's a buzzword, bro. We're gonna have to circle back.
See, there you go. Part of that conversation you
gotta
have with him.
We'll have to touch base.
No one
you
says
know what I mean?
SME. People say subject matter expert.
We say SME.
I say subject matter expert.
Well,
or I just write it SME.
People laugh at you behind your back about that.
They were like, "Thanks, Chaz." What the fuck is wrong with him?
Who says SME out loud like that?
SME.
Jesus Christ.
That's like instead of laughing, laugh out loud.
Subject matter. I just say anyway.
Yeah.
But basically like a CIO, CTO for the government. Just
totally.
to, that's basically the conversation we had.
So it can be balanced across the country because when they need something like, for example, when Atlanta got hit, and it was kind of like, oh, what the fuck do we do? And it's like, yo.
What's your take on the Atlanta ransomware?
So, mind you, I was just going off of federal level, right?
Right.
But with the federal backing of the entire country, the resources that we have, that's my speculation there. At the state and municipality level, it's just total amateurs. Total amateurs for the most part, right? There's like the GBI is really good, right? Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they're really good at what they do, and they get involved with a lot of really high-profile incidents and stuff like that from a technology perspective. When you're getting into like state and local government, though, it's just awful.
It's just pretty shitty.
Because think about like what we just mentioned, the senators and the congressmen. They don't have the technical know-how or the acumen to speak to what they're talking about, but
what
they're going to sit there and try to fake it, right? Because it fits what they want or they think it does, and that is exacerbated when you get down to, in my opinion, down to the state municipality level.
Wow, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, thanks for ruining my confidence.
So, do you think government should get involved with the privacy security issue that right now we're handling or dealing with at Facebook?
That's a really good question. I honestly don't have a strong answer for you. I don't know if I've really thought about where I stand on that issue specifically.
Your personal opinion.
Like I'm kind of libertarian traditionally, right? Like I'm like just let us do us, let capital market figure itself out, right?
Me too.
But at the same time, greed, when in the hands and the power that these companies have, they are able to enact as almost an oligarchy on the people.
Right.
If the federal government is truly trying to protect that from happening, then I don't know if I would really be upset about that, to be honest. But it's a really loaded answer, right? Like it would have to be done so perfectly.
And massively.
Yes.
This isn't let's put a bill in and we'll work it through. This is something that all hands on have to kind of agree with, have to kind of work through. I think it's pretty massive.
Yeah, it's definitely important, right? You can't just sit there and monetize a human and the information that they give you willingly in the spirit of privacy, right? In the spirit of this is my information. I totally disagree with companies monetizing that without at least like being very upfront. Like even like, going back to Equifax, credit reporting agencies are a total scam because it's like they built this system and their profit margin is like 98%.
Right.
They get data from all of these other companies, and then they resell it because
And
they
say,
get
"Hey, look,
so
look
much
what I
data
got."
they can
Right.
package and correlate and
Right.
model so many things, and then they resell it to all these other companies and they make a killing.
Right.
Killing. And they're an interesting case because CRAs are totally unregulated. They're regulated by the FTC, which has no fining capacity, which is why Equifax has not been fined.
Thanks, John Oliver.
So the FTC totally isn't who should be regulating an industry like credit reporting agencies, right? When you think about how much of our financial structure builds on that.
Right.
I think the FTC should hand it off to the federal, like the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and then
That
the
shit is
Federal
still
Review
around.
Board. Yeah, right. It's about to get dissolved probably. And then the Federal Revenue Board, they heavily regulate banks, and they're in not just in the bank's operation from a financial perspective. They come into my group and they say, "What are you guys doing?" They audit our InfoSec practices too.
So, just two things because I think we're going long, but I gotta have these two things.
Yeah.
One of them is, are you confident in what you're doing and how you see we're headed? And the other one is, because we discussed it on our political podcast. I think cybersecurity now, we're at war because people are actually attacking us.
Totally.
So, opinion.
So I would say I'm hopeful. I wouldn't say I'm at the point of being confident yet.
Okay.
I think that it's always going to be a game of catch up, right? The sophistication of the bad actors out there and the assets and resources they have at their disposal is at an all-time high, and it's going to continue to grow exponentially. It will require shifting viewpoints kind of in the sense of some of the things you talked about, which is like industries uniting in order to match the resource and capability that these bad actors are armed with. The entire banking industry should have to come together, right? And formulate these strategies and these solutions that every bank can use. But we're so far apart from an industry working like that, at least to my knowledge, any industry working that way.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I don't have much knowledge in depth on that space, but that's an example. Like coin offering companies, coin companies are definitely working together because they realize it's in their best interest to bring a validity to cryptocurrency, right?
So this is something just out of the blue, and I think we've seen something like this. But do you think there's going to be any possibility where somebody will create some app, some software, or some something where they can say, okay, I want my data to stay private, and can block people from accessing a lot of their privacy via internet or anything like that?
Almost like how you can go to the credit website. I forget exactly what you do, like a credit freeze. Almost do like a privacy freeze in the future.
So like nobody can look my data up, period?
Yeah, kind
Is that
of
what
lock
you're
it.
thinking?
Kind of like lock it.
Just like the credit. Like it becomes a separate product almost.
I see what you're saying. I don't think that would be possible. Just because there's already so much out there. There's so many roads that they would have to cover, right? I think when you're talking about critical information like your social security number and your driver's license, things that are extremely unique, not just your name and stuff that would be really difficult to filter and control against. Yeah, I think for critical information, social security number, driver's license, probably. There are solutions that we use at the bank and a lot of different critical industries use that already you can type in defined terms and it will scrape the web and it will it goes to a website and it clicks links. It's an AI solution that just clicks links and it follows, and every single page it gets to. Exactly. Every single page it gets to, it's immediately searching for what you defined.
Right.
So if you're like, hey, my social security number, I want this service to be concurrently running, it would be fucking expensive right now. But I think that will be something in the future that will be more commonplace in the market because it's going to become scalable and cheap at some point.
Almost a portable security access to say, once I renew, you almost have to scrape your identity and
Yes.
start fresh, and then say, from here on, my security is locked.
Yeah, and that's where I don't know if you guys have heard of the discussion of getting rid of linking Social Security number to credit reports.
No, I haven't heard that.
They've thought about creating like a tokenized, like unique
Makes a lot of
individual
sense.
token, right?
Right.
You have a token. Chaz has a token. I have a token. That token is already hashed in its language, and it has one solid point where it can get corroborated to confirm the actual identity, right?
Can you, for people who don't know, what is a token?
So a token is just a unique value that is basically like predetermined, right? So like if I come in layman's terms, if I'm coming in to unlock the front door of my house, only my cut key is going to work with that cut lock.
Right.
That key is my token to get into that lock, right?
And no other locks.
No other locks.
Yep.
And no other keys theoretically should work on that lock unless I make multiple.
And that's how a lot of the cryptocurrency is that unique. That cryptocurrency that you own, it's so unique that when you put it in somewhere, it goes from there and then it moves again. But it's only staying from that. Only you have that access until you trade it off. Right. And it sits locally somewhere and it's not out there for everybody else to see. But regulation is trying to catch up to that shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But if something like that were to happen, a massive undertaking of, reducing our reliance on Social Security number and going to a token, some type of extremely unique, difficult to crack, secure value, I think then what we were just discussing would be capable.
So
like legitimate comfort that you are totally secure. Yeah. Because
so
right now I would say that it's impossible
you're like,
to get 100%
no way in
comfort.
hell. Right?
Yeah.
So the militarization of hacking and...
Oh, yeah. Really fascinating. And kind of going back to some of my interests are like, international relations and stuff.
Right.
It's something I do a lot of reading on my own time. Yeah, we're totally at war.
Yeah.
We have been for a long time.
Yes, we have.
With multiple countries.
Yep.
So
countries that we're not even talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
countries that we shake hands with at summits.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, the governments are stealing each other's main companies' secrets. They're stealing each other's country secrets. They're actively working to do those things anonymously under the guise of rogue groups and things like that.
Right.
Yeah. Which is...
Motherfuckers have Acme. Like, motherfuckers...
Acme Computer Institute.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Yeah.
Unless you're Russia, then Putin just goes, it's us. Yes.
Yeah. It's us, and I don't give a fuck.
I'm riding a band.
Yeah.
They see me
with my shirt off,
Donald, I send Melania for you.
So, so Justin, I really appreciate your time. Outstanding. I love to hear people's story, especially where they're at now.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Because there's a lot of people who really take for granted, and they look at people and be like, Psst, you got it made, dude. What the fuck you telling me?
I've had a conversation like that before, multiple.
Yep. But the thing is, when you free yourself and say, I know where I've been, I'm not ashamed of that. I just know where I've been.
Yeah. And
I can tell you that regardless of where you at right now, you still can get there. I'm living proof. So that's why I really appreciate it. And thanks, Chaz, because we talk to so many different people, and sometimes people's story need to be told in order for others to be confident to say, I can move on.
Yeah, I can do this. It's not as impossible.
And for me, this is just such a huge topic because I think for our generation, millennials, we're definitely the first, maybe the second, but definitely everyone go to school, everyone get a degree. And sometimes people don't think about their major in terms of employment, or they don't think about it in terms of just they graduate without a plan or anything next, and then they just kind of squander, and they're just not really moving forward in the way
they just make money.
Yeah, in the way that they would like to, and they get stuck and frustrated. Like, you don't want to have a bachelor's degree and be a waiter or waitress.
Yeah,
but sometimes people
so much.
There's a lot.
Yeah, sometimes people get caught up in that, or it's like. You're almost 30. It's like, damn, I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 adults. It's like, what the fuck? You know, it's like life just isn't going how they planned, and I think it's people just, you have to really think about how, and sometimes just the how isn't that easy. I know, you know, it's kind of like go on LinkedIn, message people, go to networking events, do this, blah blah blah. But you know, it's not that.
Sometimes it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's just not, depending on your situation and whatever.
You might succeed and then have to take a step back, but you know.
Yeah, especially when you're starting over. Especially when you're going from one industry to another, you probably will have to take that like a 3-year hit, maybe build yourself up, and then you know.
But hopefully, if you see the writing on the wall that you may want to get out of this industry, that's when you start to focus on how you can position yourself to get out of it. Mm-hmm. So that way you don't take that hit, right? You get out of it by making a lateral move, and you're at the same spot, and then you climb again.
You can climb. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So yeah, I really, you know, I appreciate a great discussion.
Yeah, it was good. Sorry, I was long in the tooth a little bit.
No.
I can talk.
Actually not.
Actually, yeah.
Actually, we.
That's why I didn't say anything. You see, Mr. Ball fucking 60 Minutes over here. So, like, did you catch that shit? Militarization of hacking opinion. Like, motherfucker.
Talk.
I gotta have it.
Yeah, Black Anderson Cool. I just need the glasses.
I like it.
No, excellent. I really appreciate it. Definitely, if things get hot and heavy, we'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you got the baby. We can kind of get you dialed in. You don't have to physically come over.
I'd be happy to have another discussion about, you know, whatever.
First time you got to come in studio, get the vibe, get the
chemistry. Absolutely.
Then we may have you on Repo, Rethink Politics, baby.
Oh,
political.
I got some good ammunition for that, and I got a friend who would actually be excellent on that.
Oh, really?
He's he is ridiculous, but yeah,
we like ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. he's my buddy that I mentioned. That's a nurse. He's hilarious. Okay. He's hilarious.
Okay. Nah, fantastic. Any last thought, Chaz?
No, I mean, take notes, bitches. You know, get your shit together.
Yeah, man. Position yourself.
Like, and just know, like,
position yourself.
Listen to Justin's story. If you're serious and put in the hard work, you know, there's obstacles, but it's gonna take a couple years. But just keep grinding, and you know, keep that long term view. It doesn't matter if you're fucking 35 trying to change.
Yeah.
The faster, it's like weight loss. The faster you start. And about, you know what I'm saying? It's like, don't be 6 months later like, man, if I would have started in January,
I would have been fine.
And don't wait for something to fall in your lap. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, you know, everybody says it's all about who you know, so I'm just going to wait till I find somebody I know.
No, you got to go out find the people.
Yeah, go out there.
Yeah,
because it is heavily about who you know, right? But, like, the last 2 jobs I've gotten, I didn't know a single person to get me the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So,
absolutely.
It's not a hurdle you can't get around.
So, Justin Fontenot.
So, you have any social media to plug or anything like that?
Yo, catch my Instagram channel. No,
I'm on IG, bitches.
Do you have any professional social media and such online presence to plug?
No, I don't. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Justin Fontenot. Probably
one. Spell that shit.
It's all right. If you want to find me, you'll find me.
His name is on the goddamn podcast.
You can find Chaz Jenkins. He might be easier to find. Just don't. You can't get away from Chaz once you do find him.
Oh shit!
I have to say this, you are incredible. You have a whole lot of knowledge, and I think that you should really start thinking about being an entrepreneur. With the information you have, this is like the perfect opportunity right now with the need of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I think that you could find something where you can really do something right now before it gets saturated.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect time. And I really think that you should think
That's
about
great
that.
advice. I appreciate that.
I get last thing though, since we're talking about IT positions, a lot of IT companies, to piggyback on their question, what about non-competes? Is that something you have to deal with in the current position or previous positions?
Not currently, but previously I have. It was more about trying to sell similar services in the same space as this big firm.
Right.
Not so much. I mean, right? It's about like, hey, the intellectual property you create when you work here is ours. Of course, that's to be expected. But the knowledge, you can totally use different colors. You can rebuild it and use different colors, right? And
That's right. That's right.
Like some of you laugh. Some of the projects I did when I was at this big firm, I rebuilt exactly what I built because I knew it was really good to have as something I could offer as a portfolio. I rebuilt it myself while I was building it concurrently on my personal computer with my own branding, right, and my own color choice and color scheme, and no like identifying information from the project. So like
That's what you do.
I built some of my own stuff, right, like little Excel things, little toolkits and workbooks that I have for security, and I'm just kind of amassing that, right? Like, and that's the thing too. Entrepreneurship is important, so I'm reminding myself, like, anytime I learn something or I go to, like, let's say I read an article on SANS or another InfoSec org or something, and I'm like, man, this is a really good article. I might just save it, bookmark it or download it and send it to myself and
then read later.
Archive it, right? Like, I have a ton of stuff I'm amassing in a folder on my hard drive, which I have backed up. Do that too.
Backed up. That's right.
Unless the Russians already on it.
It's all right. They can have all that. They probably already got that stuff.
Yeah, they already got it anyway. Don't worry about them.
But yeah, it was great, and I appreciate that advice. It's very nice to hear those words from you. So I appreciate that.
We appreciate it. BougieBlackBrother.com, Bougie Black Brother Network. It'll be on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, almost every freaking where. You can catch us on Facebook, on IG, Bougie Black Bro, Instagram, Bougie Black Bro as well. Gonna put some snippets out there because you had some really highlighted shit that I gotta get it out there. So I'm gonna throw some snippets. You probably see it on the IG. But really appreciate the time. Definitely gonna have you on. Gotta have you on the repo though, because we get into some things and we share a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
But our opinions is based on a lot of good information.
Absolutely.
It's not just right wing
rambling.
Yeah, just fucking rambling about
regurgitating mass media.
Exactly.
My buddy does a little bit of that.
Well, we don't mind that because we attack you on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yo, I feel like I just watched an hour of CNN after we spoke for like 30 minutes.
Dude, you're just full of shit as well, So thank you very much, M3. See you soon. Peace.
Later.